Deputy, as you know, 1 minute.
Minister, you are fully aware that one organisation is holding the whole industry to ransom by its failure to lift injunctions against 2 farmers, one an elected councillor, and this has resulted in huge frustration and anger right across the farming community. This sadly has boiled over into the current blockade of the streets of Dublin. On the 15th of October last, I told the Minister for Agriculture that it was unacceptable that Larry Goodman's ABP Food Group has effectively stalled the beef taskforce through its failure to lift legal threats. That's why farmers around the country are so frustrated, and that's why they are on the streets of our capitals today. I accept that there is no silver bullet to the issues in the beef sector at the moment, but 4 measures that I put forward in the private member's motion on the 26th of September last and unanimously accepted by Dáil Eireann would fundamentally shift power away from meat processors and the supermarkets to the Irish suckler beef farmers. While this won't solve the problem overnight, if such effective steps had been taken 5 years ago, we would be in a very, very different situation today.
Minister, I'm shocked that your senior minister is not here. He made accusations here in the Dáil yesterday about the farmers, the good people, young women, men and women and families that were out there, decent people, and he alleged that they were involved in threats to business. Of course he did, and he alleged that it was like what happened in Cavan. I want him to apologise to this House for the wrong that he committed, perpetrated on those decent people yesterday. I salute the farmers in the protests. They're on their knees, and you have abandoned them, ignored them, because you're in bed with Larry Goodman and the big beef barons, and you won't touch them. And it's a scandal that the talks can't come in. First of all, you have a chairman, a farmer, Secretary General as chairperson, so the whole thing is a charade. But the game is up, Minister. It can't be business as usual. Those 500 people yesterday were not members of any organisation or any political party. They're farmers that are fed up of what's going on, and they want answers. But they want an apology from Minister Creed for accusing them of being involved in threatening. There's not even a Garda complaint file in that area. So he's misled the Dáil, he lied to the Dáil, and he made a slur on the reputation of those good people. And I want him to apologise in this House for it.
Michael Collins.
Minister, farmers are really angry at this stage. Nobody wants to talk to them. That's the way they feel, and many are taking the matter into their own hands as they have yesterday. Minister, farmers outside the gates here, as I said, and outside the factories over the last month, and they feel they're going nowhere. And the anger is growing and growing. Minister, you need to wake up to the fact, and the reality is on the ground that there's a lot of anger there. I mentioned earlier here today about the organic sector, where a lot of farmers are trying to do environmental farming. There was 255 applied, only 50 were approved, 75% refusal rate on organic farming. They're trying their best to move into a different industry going forward, and they're not. You can answer that in a minute, Minister. You have your chance. But what I will ask you is there's practices inside the factory gates need serious investigation, Minister. And will you stop come out of the bed with Larry Goodman and stand up for the farmers of this country? Will you, Minister, here today at least start the process of a serious investigation of what's going on inside the factory? We need to know, and the farmers need the money that they are working hard for their cattle.
I would just remind members to be very careful in mentioning names of those who are not here to defend themselves. And you're here in this House a long time, and that's the custom and practice. Deputy Michael Hillier.
Les Councillor, first of all, yourself, I want to thank you most sincerely for showing your commitment to the farmers of Ireland by allowing this topical debate. It's very timely. There are hundreds of people who travel long journeys. They left their family farms, they left their families, they left their workplace to come here to Dublin, and it was you acceded to this request, and I thank you most sincerely and most humbly for giving those farmers a voice inside here today in this topical debate. I'm cross, of course, with the Senior Minister. Nothing against you, Minister, for being here, but the Senior Minister should show the respect to the people that are outside, that took time out to be here. And of course, they don't want to be here protesting. Where they want to be is at home, running their farms and carrying on trying to make a living. That's all they want to do. They're looking for fair play. They're looking for an apology from the Minister. They're looking for proper labelling and the blockade that's going on when it comes to labelling beef, and not just beef, but indeed our pork, many of our produce are being misrepresented in that there's false labelling going on, which shouldn't be allowed. When people buy Irish beef, they should know that it's Irish beef. When they buy Irish pork, they should know it's Irish pork. The same with the lamb. And all I'm asking is that the government will take on board what these farmers are looking for and allow them go home, but allow them to get a thing called fair play.
Ministers, 4 minutes.
Thanks, Councillor. As somebody who is actually, unlike most people that are doing a lot of talking about it, an active beef farmer, I should say I have as good an understanding of this whole sector as anybody in this chamber. First of all, Minister Creed actually met this morning at 7:30. He answered some of the questions and clarified the issue with regard to the threats. Never inferred that anyone involved in the injunctions or any farmer was responsible for them. If you were here at question time, you asked, if you were here at question time this morning, you would have heard that answer. Okay? So no. Seeing as how
Mr. Dáil, to proceed on.
The issue was to two topical issues. One was the need for the government to directly intervene and unlock the current impasse, and the second was in the beef task force, and the second was to provide an update on the beef task force. And I just wanted to clarify, set the scene here before I answer directly the topical issues which are actually on the order paper here today. So, as you are aware, the inaugural Beef Task Force meeting scheduled for 14th of October was prevented from proceeding. However, since then, the independent chair and the department continue to engage proactively with task force members with a view to progressing the implementation of the provisions of the agreement. My department and its agencies continue to progress the commitments which they signed up to under the agreement. The full text of the agreement between the beef sector stakeholders, along with an update on the progress made on the actions to date, is available on the department's website. An immediate increase in a range of bonuses was announced as part of the 15th of September agreement, and it has been confirmed that this bonus system is now in place. Initiatives in the agreement aimed at improving information along the supply chain included the commissioning of the following reports: an independent review of market and customer requirements, an independent examination of the price composition of the total value of the animal along the supply chain, and a summary of competition law issues relevant to the beef sector. My department has issued a request for tenders for these reports, with a deadline for receipt of the tender responses by 12 noon of next Thursday, the 5th of December. This will enable the award of the tender before the end of the year. In relation to transparency issues, the department has published an expert report on mechanical carcass classification review, has introduced an appeal system for manual grading, and has initiated a consultation process on the transposition of unfair trading practices directives, with a deadline for submission of the 13th of December. Board BIA has developed a beef market index model based on three components: cattle price index, beef market price index, retail and wholesale, and an offal price indicator. This is now available on the Board BIA website. Teagasc is significantly advanced in the first stage of scientific review of the Quality Payment Grid, or the QPS. The department is also proactively engaging with several potential beef producer organisations which have the potential to strengthen the bargaining power of beef farmers in the supply chain. Two beef producer organisations have been formally recognised by the department in recent months. You have all seen the impact of the traffic disruption in Dublin City today, which has had an impact on ordinary people as well as they go to their daily work. There are well-established channels of communications with farming organisations to resolve these issues of concern to farmers through constructive dialogue. And I hope that the sector will be able to come together, as it always has, to face these challenges and work towards a more sustainable future for all stages of the food chain. Minister Creed established the Beef Market Task Force to provide the leadership to develop a sustainable pathway for the future of the beef sector in terms of economic, environmental and social sustainability. As the Minister has previously stated, it is in the interest of everybody and everyone involved in the beef sector that this task force gets to work as soon as possible. So I hope all parties will agree to come together around the table, and I would appeal certainly to those who have the injunctions in place to consider, as a gesture of goodwill, the lifting of them. But we are, and I am, and the Minister is, limited in the extent to which we can actually make that happen. Thank you.
Deputy Naughton, make the best of 30 seconds.
Minister, with all due respect, considering is no good. Mr Goodman and ABP need to lift that injunction now, and the government as a whole needs to intervene to ensure that happens. And yes, we need all farmers, farm organisations and TDs to work together to secure the viability of Irish family farms. Minister, farmers are frustrated because they cannot get cattle into meat plants at the moment. We can all focus on the cause, but what farm families need now is money. Money to pay end-of-year bills, money to pay for Christmas, just like every other family. We cannot allow Christmas to be cancelled for the children of Ireland who live on our farms. We need everyone around that table, and we need them around that table now.
Thank you for observing the time, Derry.
First of all, I want to thank the staff in the House here. I want to thank the Garda Síochána on behalf of the farmers. They asked me to do it. They were outside. They were treated courteously. Thank the people who brought up cups of coffee to them. The community people supported them. I want to challenge you, Minister, and to Minister Creed. If he doesn't come in here to this House and retract what he said yesterday, the outrageous slur, he's not fit for office, he should resign. And that's serious, because how dare... And he actually said that it was like what happened with the Quinn Group. Disgraceful. When there was no complaint in the Garda station, no file anywhere. And Minister Flanagan was involved in it too. So what's going on with MII and calling up Minister Flanagan and making this allegation? Minister Creed has to apologise to those farmers unreservedly in this House. If not, he should resign and go, because he's not fit for office anyway.
Deputy Collins.
Thank you very much, Councillor. No, look, Minister, you said you're a beef farmer yourself. I'm a beef farmer myself, and surrounded by many beef farmers that are in very, very serious financial circumstances at this present time. And we need you, Minister, to stand up for these farmers. It's happening, the wrongdoings, and they know the wrongdoings are happening inside the factory gate. We need to have that rectified. I'm advising a lot of farmers to change their style of farming. A lot of them did a lot of courses in the organic sector. They signed up. They paid for the organic feed. They've done everything by the book, and 70% of them now are being left outside the door after doing their courses, doing everything in organic. You have to step in there to at least help them to have another, if there is another choice out there, that they can at least be accepted in the organic sector too. But there's two issues there: the factory, what's going on in the factories, and the organic, and we need an answer for that.
Thank you. The injunctions and the bully tactics will have to stop. That was one of the main things that these farmers were here objecting to, is the fact that they were being marginalised and picked upon just because they're fighting for a thing called fair play. At the end of the day, and you know this yourself, if it's not going to make a profit to produce a kilo of beef, that can't continue into the future. It's not sustainable what is going on now. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Everybody is making money out of beef except the people that produce it. And that's not fair, and that's not right. And the killing thing about it is, you know that it's not right, and you know that it's not fair. And this government should be seen to be fighting for our farmers, instead of having a Taoiseach that stood up there one day and shamefully and disgracefully said that he was going to cut back on his beef consumption. A child wouldn't say it, not mind the Taoiseach of the country.
Minister Dáil is 2 minutes.
Thanks, Councillor. We all agree, and it was agreed in September, that the best vehicle and the best way of progressing a viable future for everybody in the sector, from producer to processor to whoever else that's involved, is through the Beef Task Force and work on the template and the agreement that was signed up to. That hasn't happened to date. It should have happened on the 14th of October, and there's no point in me revisiting the reasons why it didn't happen. Sorry, that is not the reason why it wasn't. That isn't the reason. And if you listened to me the first time, maybe you listened to me this time. If you check the record, if you were in here on oral questions this morning, Minister Creed clarified the issue with regard to what exactly happened last week, what exactly he said, and it's on the Dáil record. With regard to the organic sector, I might add, I answered those questions. You're right, there was 255. There was a good number of them were ruled either didn't complete the form or were ruled ineligible. When I announced the reopening of the existing scheme, not a new scheme, I said that it was on foot of the organic strategy's recommendations that have been targeted at the areas of deficit, which was cereals, dairy and horticulture. Deputy Ryan asked earlier how many horticulture were refused. One was refused out of 2 that applied. The majority of them were in the beef and lamb sector, where there's already an oversupply, and only up to 30%, or maybe slightly more, is actually of organically produced beef and lamb is actually sold that way. One of the reasons for it is there isn't enough of feed in the system at an affordable price, and that's why cereals were prioritised, that we need to get more cereals into the system so that beef and lamb producers that are already registered as organic have an affordable source of supplementary feeding. That's the reason that it was prioritised. It was on foot of the recommendation of the strategy group, which involves all stakeholders. Thank you.